Trayvon Bromell's 9.84 seconds at the Rome Diamond League is more than just a simple statement, but it's a confirmation of the outlook for the rest of the year, where I don't think three guys are going to keep him off the team to the World Championships this year for the United States. But let's dive into this performance, as this was definitely a shocker, but also kind of expected for who Trayvon Bromell is. 9.84 seconds in the 100 meters at the Rome Diamond League. That's the fifth fastest time of his career. It's also a world lead in 2025, taking down the world lead that Kenny Bednarek had just set at the Grand Slam track meet in Philadelphia with his 9.86. This also backs up Trayvon's 9.91 mark that he had run a few weeks ago down in Clearmont, Florida, which gave confirmation to the world that Trayvon Bromell, of course, was back. Also, a quick side note that Trayvon Bromell's start was so insane that apparently on the official splits, it said he ran 3.75 seconds for 30 meters. If that's true, that would be the second fastest 30-meter split in the history of the 100-meter dash, only behind Subin Tang, as well as equal with Maurice Green. But this apparently seems to not be 100% confirmed, but it just highlights how insanely fast Trayvon Bromell's start is, regardless of the actual split. Now, we know Trayvon as one of the more dominant 100-meter sprinters over the past decade at this point. Back in 2014, Trayvon Bromell became the NCAA champion in the 100 as just a freshman at Baylor. He then went on to win a silver medal at the World Junior Championships that year in Eugene, Oregon, and he became the first junior U20 athlete to break the 10-second barrier, running 9.97 seconds, again, as a freshman at the University of Baylor. He followed that up in 2015, winning a bronze medal at the World Championships in Beijing that year, behind Usain Bolt and behind Justin Gatlin, tying with Andre DeGrasse. Then in 2016, he became the world indoor champion in the 60 meters, running a best time of 6.47 seconds, making him one of the fastest athletes in history. He continued that trajectory by not only making the Olympic team in 2016 to Rio, but also making that 100-meter Olympic final. But this is where injuries did start to plague him, and 2017, 2018, 2019, even 2020 is when he really did deal with some significant injuries. He did come back in 2020, and then 2021 made the Olympic team, but was unable to make the final. But at the end of the year, he ran 9.76 seconds at the Kip Keino Classic out in Nairobi, Kenya. Now, people kind of took this for a grain of salt because it was at altitude, but it is what it is. Followed up in 2022, got the bronze medal at the World Championships in Eugene, Oregon, and now we fast forward, he dealt with more and more injuries. 2023, despite injury setbacks and later on having to deal with surgery, he actually finished 6th place at the USA Championships. 2024, after a few races, shut the season down, again, dealing with those injury setbacks. But now we are here in 2025, and Trayvon Bromell looks to be back and better than ever. Like I said, he had already run 9.91 seconds in the 100 just a few weeks back down in Clearmont, Florida, but now this 9.84 at the Rome Diamond League confirms that he is healthy, confirms that he is able to take down a very high quality field, and confirms that he is potentially ready to make the team in the 100 to the World Championships in Tokyo this year. One important thing is that Trayvon Bromell actually moved back to his old coach, Michael Ford, down at the University of Baylor. So he left Jacksonville training under Raider Ryder and now is back with Michael Ford. So even though, we know that Trayvon has always had these glimpses of success and these glimpses of, showing that he is a very special athlete, I think him going back with Michael Ford really is starting to cement himself as, okay, this is where I'm very comfortable and I'm going to be successful at this point. Now, one thing that I do want to take a look at is 9.84. It's the 5th fastest time of Trayvon's career, but many people had put this stigma on Trayvon saying that he can't run fast outside of the United States, where all of his fast times, and being honest, the top 15 times that he's ever run in his career outside of his personal best have all either been run in Eugene, Oregon, or in Florida, in Jacksonville, in Miramar, or Clearmont. So I understand that narrative. And in his post-race interview, Trayvon actually said this as much. Here's a clip.
So it was definitely a lot of jitters. I'm not going to sit here and act like nerves wasn't there. I was definitely nervous because I didn't know what to expect. We ran the 991, but everybody's gonna have their speculations about it being in the United States. Can he do it overseas? Can he do it when the pressure is on? And that was the one thing that was running through my mind. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I just wanted to go in be the person that I know I am, especially when it comes to my training. I work hard, so I don't expect anything but fast times and execution.
So clearly he wanted to get that stigma because that's a narrative that's been floating around. And also the 9.76 personal best, making him one of the fastest all time. That of course is always going to have an asterisk because people say, oh, there was altitude and, you know, XYZ. So I think Trayvon running this 9.84 really confirms that A, he's able to run fast amongst some of these top guys outside of the United States and in just a clean-cut race. Now, let's be clear. It's very hard to doubt Trayvon and his abilities. He's a bronze medalist in both 2015 during the Bolt era and 2022 during this current era, right? He's run 9.76. He's even run 9.77, and he has a ton of 9.8 performances. So it's hard to discount him, but just like Trayvon said, there is a slight narrative that's been running through his career, but this performance, I think that completely dispels that narrative and puts him on a very, very, very good path to potentially make that team to the World Championships. Now, before we talk about USA's, what should be next for Trayvon? In my opinion, get Trayvon Bromell in Grand Slam track in Los Angeles as a challenger. This would be perfect. I don't know what we got to do to get him in Grand Slam, but listen, people better be working the phones behind the scenes where Trayvon is going to be perfect for Grand Slam track. He's already run this 9.84. That bounces off what Kenny B just did, running 9.86, and puts a very, very good conversation together of like, can Kenny B beat out Trayvon Bromell? We know that someone like Oblique Seville, he has to compete at Jamaican trials, so he's not going to be able to run at Grand Slam Track LA. Slotting Trayvon Bromell as a challenger, this would be absolutely must-see TV. Previous world leader in Kenny B and undefeated in Grand Slam Track. Enter Trayvon Bromell, who's run the world lead now of 9.84, a mark that Kenny B has never run in his career and could possibly take down Kenny B. In the 200, of course, Trayvon isn't as strong. Like, he's not going to be able to, you know, match Kenny B and his talents, right? But he does have a personal best of 20.03. It's all the way back from 2015. So again, not in that kind of realm right now. This year, Trayvon has run 20.55 seconds, which is the 10th fastest time of his career. So he is kind of at least showing that he's in some good form, and in my opinion, justifies that he should be in Grand Slam Track LA. But after that, USA's is at the end of July, beginning of August, right? So that's going to be the real test for Trayvon. And like I said at the top, I don't think that 3 athletes are going to be able to take Trayvon down and keep him off the USA team in the 100 to the World Championships in Tokyo. Think about it. He just beat out Fred Curley. He just beat out Brandon Hicklin. He just beat out Courtney Lindsay. So 3 guys who were in the USA final last year at Olympic trials, he just beat them out in this race and has run faster than all of them except, you know, Fred Curley in terms of personal best. Christian Coleman, he unfortunately isn't looking as great this year in 2025. You have Christian Miller. He, of course, has done decent, but he hasn't looked Trayvon Bromell spectacular. And he also had some setbacks where he had to pull out on the 100 at Grand Slam Track in Philly. So TBD on his aspects there. Then you have Kendall Williams. You have JT Smith, right? That's the rest of the guys who were in the 100-meter final at Olympic trials last year. Yes, Noah Lyles, he actually has the wild card to the World Championship, so he's not required to make the team, and he's not going to take away from that top 3 quota. You also have Kenny B. Kenny B right now is who I see as the top competition for Trayvon Bromell. He's the only guy that if I was to bet on a race right now, I would only say that Kenny B is capable of taking him down in the U.S. lens. Of course, you do have Akani Simbine. Of course, you maybe have like Oblique Seville or Kashane Thompson. But when talking about the United States, Kenny B is the only guy that I would actually put money on to beat out Trayvon Bromell. Now, I'm not saying that would happen. I think that it'd be a very, very good, you know, head-to-head where Trayvon could come out on top, Kenny B could come out on top. Like I said, get Trayvon in Grand Slam track. But this would be a great head-to-head. So overall, 3 people are not beating Trayvon Bromell. If he's consistently, you know, looking forward to being in this form, if he's remaining healthy, if he's, you know, remaining at these 9.9 lows, 9.8s, like this is going to be very hard for anyone to actually take down when we get to USA's. And look at his track record when it comes to USA championships. In 2015, he made the team to the World Championships. 2016, he made the Olympic Games team there. After that, he dealt with significant injuries, but then came back in 2021, made the Olympic team, was the Olympic Olympic trials champion. 2022, he made the world championship team to Eugene that year as well. 2023, he was injured but finished 6th place at USA's. So even despite that injury. So what I'm saying is that if we see Trayvon actually line up at USA Championships this year in just under 2 months time, it's going to be hard for anyone to keep him off that team because he has a very, very, very high success record of actually making teams. Only one time did he miss a team, and he was literally injured. Listen, Trayvon Bromell is absolutely on one right now. Again, I don't think that 3 people are going to beat him at USA's. Anything could happen, right? Fred Curley is someone who's notorious for really turning up when it gets to USA Championships. Christian Coleman could really turn things up. But it's just like when I'm looking at the landscape of things in the United States, Trayvon is absolutely on one. Now, when we get to the Worlds, that's a whole other conversation, right? Kashane, Oblique, Akani, Zarnell, or whoever else, is going to be in that mix. Let's see, Boho, of course, Noah Lyles. Like, that's a whole different conversation. But just talking about making this team and just talking about what we're looking at right now, Trayvon Bromell is very much in the conversation, if not leading the conversation with someone like a Kenny B. If I was to pick like who is the best sprinter in the world right now, I would still say Kenny B. Obviously, the time is one aspect, but Kenny B has been so consistent against all these guys around the world, whether it was a Fred Curley, who he beat out in Kingston Grand Slam track, or Oblique Seville, Zarnell Hughes, who he beat out, in Kingston and Miami, right? Or all these other guys that, he's been beating out, Christian Coleman, Andre DeGrasse, Aaron Brown, et cetera, et cetera. So I would still give Kenny B a slight edge in terms of who is the quote unquote best, 100-meter sprinter in the world because of that consistency. But listen, Trayvon Bromell is someone that you do not want to bet against. But this was, again, an exciting performance. There were so many other performances at the Rome Diamond League between, Quincy Hall, between Andronette Knight, right? There were so many great performances across the board, but this was a highlight for me. Let me know what you think about Trayvon. Do you think that we should see him in Grand Slam Track LA? And I guess, do you think we'll even see him there? Or maybe he should kind of like continue to ease things down and, prepare specifically for USA's. And then when we get there, do you think that 3 people are actually going to keep him off the team in the 100 meters? Let me know what you think. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Always do appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.